Dear beloved Creator of all that is, we call you when we face challenges and we are fortified. Our spirits are buoyed by right action, and you fortify us. We ask for divine wisdom in all that we do, and it is given. We are humbled by your presence, and we are graced, and so it is.
Thank you, Charlie. My name's Ron Vrum, and I'm the old man talking head for the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. This evening, we have a little bit of a different way to go. We have a lot of things going on right now. We have state policemen that are publishing on Twitter saying they're not going to take it anymore. We have sheriffs telling Kate Brown, we're not going to do that. We're going to do it a different way. We're not going to take it anymore. And we have other sheriffs saying that. And we have a multitude of people coming out and saying that they're not going to take it anymore. And we'd like to use our time on cable television. If you know heroes such as this, and I don't use the word lightly, people with the courage of their convictions, such as Zachary, if you know these people, please contact me and we'll get a hold of them and we'll record their story and we'll play it on our weekly cable TV show. First of all, let's have Charlie read and tell us what she has to say. Take it, Charlie.
Hi, my name's Charlie. I'm with Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. This morning, there was a Northwest Observer notice that Malheur County Sheriff gives statement on Kate Brown mandates. His name is Brian Wolf. The Malheur County Sheriff has released a statement in response to Oregon Governor Kate Brown's recent demands that everyone in the state of Oregon must wear a mask both indoors and outdoors, whether vaccinated or not, for COVID-19 and vaccination mandates. And his letter reads as follows. Malheur County is a great place to live, work, and visit. The Malheur County Sheriff's Office is proud to be a part of creating the high quality of life that we enjoy here. For the above stated reasons, I feel it necessary to write this letter in reference to protecting the freedoms and liberties that are granted to all U.S. citizens by the Constitution of the United States of America. The citizens of Malheur County are good, hard-working, free-thinking people who possess a high degree of common sense and a solid educational foundation. All of the alleged science that has been evolving from state and federal agencies has apparent political ideations that our Malheur County population has seen through from the beginning. That in no way means that we take this pandemic lightly. We all have friends and relatives who have suffered as a result of this horrible disease. However, that does not equate to a governmental ability to mandate that an individual or a population of people must forego their freedoms or liberties. With that degree of common sense come the ability to make rational decisions to stay home when ill, wash hands, and stay away from obviously ill people. We all learned that from childhood and do not need to be politically parented. Every citizen should enjoy the liberty to choose for themselves the best actions to take. It is not government's place to mandate such things as the wearing of masks or the need for vaccinations. These should be personal choices and no one else's business. At some point, people have to realize there are consequences for their choices. If we are truly interested in the health of our citizens, we must also look at the damage unnecessary mandates have caused by creating anxiety and mental health issues of those who are now faced with taking a vaccination they do not believe to be safe or lose their livelihoods. As elected sheriff of Malheur County, I believe that it's not the government's job to protect our health. It's the government's job to protect our rights, freedoms, and liberties. It's each of our job to protect our own health. When you trade liberty for safety, you end up losing both, says Ben Franklin. Here's a quote from Rand Paul that he uses. It is important to remember that the Constitution of the United States was not written to restrain the citizens' behavior. It was written to restrain the government's behavior. He goes on to say it has become very apparent that certain governmental heads have used this pandemic to enact emergency procedures and are testing the waters of tolerance from the loss of freedom to alleged safety. I agree with our citizens that these mandates do not fall within the superior mandates of the Constitution of the United States, which I am sworn to follow above lower orders of other, is in parens, elected officials. Please be advised that the office of sheriff in Malheur County will not be a source of enforcement for your mask or vaccination mandates. Furthermore, we will resist future unconstitutional mandates. Respectfully, Sheriff Brian E. Wolf.
Thank you, Charlie. Now I'd like to hear 2 minutes recorded by a young Oregon State police officer named Zachary, 29 years old, and he recorded this on Twitter, I believe it was. Would you roll that, please?
I swore an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States, to protect the freedom of the people who pay my salary. I do not work for my governor, but for them. The governor elected to this beautiful state has ordered medical workers, teachers, and first responders to get the vaccine. I have personal and religious reasons as to why I will not take the vaccine, but also the freedom to choose not to. I'll likely get fired over this video, but I'm nonetheless exercising my First Amendment right to speak freely. I've fallen in line for over a year with these useless and ineffective mask mandates, and I will no more. I will not sit back and sheepishly watch as those who serve the people of this state are given unlawful orders which threaten their livelihoods should they choose not to fall in line. Discretion is one of the most important parts of my job as a police officer. I will use that discretion, and I will not enforce useless mask mandates or unlawful vaccine orders. Doing so is discrimination, which I would be fired for if it were any other discriminatory subcategory. Ms. Governor, I think you've forgotten that you were elected by the people, therefore you work for the people. The title governor does not give free rein to force medical decisions upon us. Police officer or not, an oath is permanent. I'll stand the blue line for the people I swore it to. If you're watching this video, I encourage you to look deep down and decide if you're going to fall in line as sheep or if you're going to stand up for the rights that we have for the short time we still have them. If you got the vaccine out of pure choice, that is your freedom. But if you got the vaccine out of fear, be careful.
Thank you, William. Let's see if we have somebody else that has some information to share on these brave people that are standing up for us. Cynthia, do you have anything to say right now?
I do. A few weeks ago, there was a letter published that came across my desk from a Union County Sheriff's Office. The sheriff on Union County's name is Cody Bowen, and he wrote this letter to Governor Kate Brown. I write to you today in hopes of opening a dialogue and as a last resort to put you on notice that we, the people of Union County, Oregon, have had enough. Enough of your overreaching mandates, enough of your bullying threats, enough of you dictating our state by fear. You have once again initiated what may consider to be an unconstitutional mandate requiring our children to wear a mask while in school. You have gone so far as to threaten our teachers' livelihoods and their ability to provide for their family and friends, and certifications and revocations if they don't enforce your mandate. You have backed our school board members into a corner, even though the east side of the state has expressed a desire to have local control over these situations. Leaders listen to their constituents. You have continued in a long line of politicians who ignore the will of the people on the east side of the state. You sit on the opposite side of the state and dictate with a heavy hand. You ramble off your orders to Oregon Health Authority and Oregon Department of Education, telling them to carry out your mindless orders or face the consequences of your threats. You are inflicting more damage to our children than any virus ever could do, and you hide behind the misrepresentation that you care for us all. You, ma'am, care nothing about our children or the people of Eastern Oregon. As sheriff of Union County, I took an oath to uphold the Constitution and stand up and defend the people of this beautiful county we call home. We have the God-given right to freedom and the God-given right to choose what is best for ourselves and our children. Let us do so. We will raise our children how we see fit. We will choose to wear a mask or choose not to wear a mask. We will choose to get vaccinated or choose not to get vaccinated. Your mindless dictates will no longer be tolerated. Sheriff Cody Bowen. I had the pleasure of actually meeting with him. Ron and I made a trip over to Union County. I had placed a phone call to his office to make sure that this letter, that he actually really wrote this letter. And he responded a few days later by saying, yes, I did. And we asked to meet with him, and we drove over and we met with him, and he was one of the most kind, thoughtful, courageous, wanting to do what was right, loving good and hating evil person that I've met in a long time in law enforcement.
Agreed.
He made no bones about anything. And I had asked him to actually watch our first video that Ron ever put out. And the man actually did it. He is a man of his word. And that seems to be hard to find these days. So I read to him while I was there the whole reason why we're doing what we're doing and why we have the right as the people to stand up against this tyranny. And it comes out of Article 1 of the Constitution of Oregon, Section 1, Natural Rights Inherent in People. We declare that all men, when they form a social compact, are equal in right, that all power is inherent in the people, and all free governments are founded on their authority and instituted for their peace, safety, and happiness, and they have at all times a right to alter, reform, or abolish the government in such a manner as they may think proper. Those are our rights. They're given to us. Our Oregon State Constitution, right in the very beginning of that Constitution, says so. I yield.
Thank you, Cynthia. Cheryl, do you have some words for us?
My words are to everyone. We are not cattle. We are living, breathing people. If we do not own up and stake our claims here, protecting each other, another country will move in, or another ideology will move in, and things do not get better from here. They get much, much worse. We must all band together. We must all connect together and be ready for anything that may come.
Thank you. I guess you yield then, huh?
I yield. I'm torn.
Thank you.
I'm tired.
Yeah. I'd like to bring you folks up on that a little bit. We've had a spate of illnesses and happenstances to our, wow, to our assembly as a whole. And I would like everybody to get well and come back to work. Earlier, we were talking about rights and all that. I hope you can see that. William's been ill and he hasn't the time or the energy to do a lot of editing and posting for us. So we have to do the best we can in the amount of time that we have. This is a court order by the Civilian Court of Record. I wish we had Zachary and the rest of them as members of our Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. It says on this, by order of the Civilian Court of Record, the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly, I am known as Ronald C. Vroman, an Oregonian, a state national, a non-U.S. citizen, not within the jurisdiction of any subdivision, such as State of Oregon, or its subdivision, City of and County of, is declared exempt from mask wearing, distancing, testing, vaccination, or detainment and arrest for these unconstitutionally decreed violations of one's unalienable rights. Corporate governance employees that violate due process of one of the people at large, such as the bearer of this order, will be individually prosecuted. And we'll follow that up. On the back of all of our presentation cards, this one is Cynthia's. On the back of it is Article 1, Section 1. And all of us that have cards have that on all of our cards. And we do our very best, day in and day out, to return Oregon to a constitutional Republican form of government. We need to look at a few things in this, and this is not negative. This is looking at what's really going on. There are cowans and eavesdroppers and turncoats. Always have been, always will be. These people that have been acting as persons in the corporate governance in violation of the oath, some of them are turning around. They've just had enough and they're not going to take it anymore. When those people have had enough, how many hundreds of them are there that have also had enough, but they don't have the courage or the conviction to stand and deliver like the guys you just heard about? I was speaking in Oregon City a while back, and I said there's 6 sheriffs that have made this decision, and a lady in the audience says 9. Now, they're not turncoats, but they could be turncoats, and turncoats are around since the time of Washington. You make the inside of your coat look like the outside of the enemy's coat. And that's sewing 2 coats together with no lining on either one. And you can be whoever you want to be by changing your coat. We have to be careful of things like that. We need people that will actually do the real job. We've been suffering from, oh boy, fraud is probably the best thing to say it. Federally since 1861 and on Oregon since November 1910. And we're just waking up to it, but people wake up to it in waves. I'm sure that when they first did the first fraud, they had to overcome some people that resisted. And I've heard, and I don't know for sure, but I've heard people say, no person say to me, well, what difference does Article 7 amended mean in opposed to Article 7 original? You read them, they're the same. Well, the difference is law and color of law. And Article 7 amended is color of law, and as long as the tyrant is being pleasant and nice, then things are going pretty good for the slaves. And the slaves don't know the difference, because the best way to keep a slave is if he doesn't know he is a slave. So if the tyrant performs in such a manner, and they have done really well since March 1861 federally and November 1910 on Oregon. These guys are professionals at fooling us. People have been unfooled. Milt Mitchek had this all together and was going down the road with it and would have done some excellent work with it. And things happened and he got sidetracked. And that was back in the 90s. That's 20 years ago plus. So people have known. But if you don't get enough people that know and enough people that demand to be an Oregon in the de jure, they run over you. I got run over. I got run over and did 20 days. There's people all over that have gotten run over. And they pull color of law on you, and they do it so well and so fast, and they've been doing it so long that they're good at it. And you don't even know it. And I thought everything was cool up until 2014. I was 75 years old. And I went, wow, this is wrong. And I got to the bottom of it, but you never get to the bottom of it. You only think you know. And as soon as you think you know, then you find out something else has happened. You find out another piece of the puzzle. And they're all pieces of the puzzle. We're now dealing with the Universal Postal Union Treaty. Now, it's written and agreed to in a treaty, but the de facto's first order of business is he who can't be deceived, let him. So unless you prove to them that you are no longer deceived, well, then they believe you are deceived. And if you don't rebut your all-cap name, then that's who you are. If you're a member of the militia and you think you're a U.S. citizen and you're a patriot, and God bless the red, white, and blue with horizontal stripes, the battle flag of the military, that's who you are. But that's not a de jure Oregonian. You're on the other guy's team and you don't even know it. You have to know who you are. If you don't know who you are, they will tell you who you are. And even if that's a lie, and you say the lie often enough and strong enough, the lie becomes the truth. And there's no way to go. And we've just about run out of our time. We got a little bit more. Has anybody got any more they want to say in the wrap up of this before we give it back to William and he finishes it off?
I would just like to say that it's really important that we not allow ourselves to be distracted or divided as we proceed in supporting one another and discovering the truth of what we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis between the two jurisdictions, de jure, which is ours of the people, and de facto, which is the commercial code. We don't need to be providing them with any more income. So let's stick together and really support one another in truth and in freedom. I yield.
Thank you, Charlie. If anybody hears this that is a member of any other organization that is along the lines of love, peace, harmony, and a prayer, freedom, equality in opportunity, not outcome, and interested in developing a hierarchy of competence on Oregon in every county, please contact us. We have an Oregon statewide Jural Assembly. We have a grand jury, and we are Oregon's Second Amendment well-regulated militia. We are the Oregon statewide Jural Assembly at orsja.org, and we'll do everything we can to help you become free and what it takes to overcome their 12 presumptions in law that make you a slave every time you enter their court or use one of their bar attorneys. Unless you're a corporation, you shouldn't be using that. You should come to the de jure and let the de facto do what it's supposed to do in admiralty. De facto. That's their law form. He who can be deceived, let him. Cynthia, you got any more to say? William, you got anything to say?
I do. I just want to remind people that there's only a couple of avenues that's left open to us now. And I honestly believe that going after their de facto system is the way to take them down in a manner that's peaceable and not one that's going to take us into a war. And so I would like to encourage people to get off their bums and start educating themselves about the truth of our nation, the truth of what generations ago our forefathers fought for independence and liberty to form the republic that we're supposed to have now. I yield.
Thank you, Cynthia. I'm going to call that a wrap, William.
They do not want to let go of this. They do not intend on losing here. And we do not intend giving it back to them.
And then the bullets started flying, and then he jumps out of the car, and he's got both his hands up.
And he got out of the car, and he had his hands in the air. He's like, just shoot me then. This is what you want, to shoot me. And they did. They shot him dead. With his hands in the air, and I saw it. I swear to God. He was just walking with his hands in the air. And they shot him. And they shot him dead, and then after he was down on the ground, they shot him 3 more times.